Hi, I'm Eddie Rainier, and today's job is right here in the kitchen. What we're going to do is replace that old harsh fluorescent lighting with some brand new recessed incandescent lighting, and for a bonus we'll show you how to put it on a dimmer switch. Come and join us and we'll show you how it works. We are building entertainment. What's up, hello? We are building entertainment. Okay, of course your first step ever when working with electric is to turn off the breaker in conjunction with the lighting or the electrical box that you're working with. And we did that and we double checked it, so now we're safe. So now let's go ahead and take off our panels and see what we have to work with. Now that the panels are out, let's go ahead and take out the framework for the lighting grid and do that very carefully so we don't mess up any of the existing ceiling. This metal lighting grid is trash, so I went ahead and gently ripped it out. Safely remove and dispose of your fluorescent lighting bulbs. Now we have the fluorescent lights exposed, so let's go ahead and pop off the cover and remove whatever fasteners we have to the ceiling. There's one down, one to go. The anchors that secure these lights into the ceiling are hollow wall anchors. So sometimes what you got to do is just get up there and kind of pull and spin at the same time to loosen the bolt out of the hollow wall anchor. If you just spin it with pressure on it, it'll spin all day long. There. There's one more to go. Next, disconnect the wiring, the conduit, and the hollow wall anchor. Okay, now that your lights are removed, here's your next couple of steps. Figure out where you want your recessed lighting to go. We're using 4, so we figured out our 4 spots. Then figure out where the joists are on either side of the lights, because we have to cut that drywall out. Then we'll go ahead and hang our lights. It's now time to make a mess. We went ahead and drew some lines on the center of our joists on both sides. We're going to cut this drywall out and open up this area so we can hang our new recessed lighting. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and reverse the blade with the Sawzall, which makes it easier to do this cut. Now go ahead and cut through the drywall at least halfway along the lines that you made. Next, go ahead and score your corners with the razor blade. With your hammer, bust out the center portion first. Just go ahead and cut that away, and you're good to go. Now finish up with your razor blade, hammer, and Sawzall to get a nice clean working edge. Again, cut down the middle of your joists with your Sawzall, score your corners, bust it out, and clean it up. The existing power feed is in this conduit. We're going to go ahead and cut away the ceiling and wall so we can recess the power feed into a junction box in the ceiling. I now need to cut some holes in the joist to run my Romex cable. To do that, I need to cut away this drywall so I can access the joist against the wall. With your drill motor and a 1-inch spade bit, drill all holes necessary to run your Romex cable. Now with your new junction box, snap off a tab on the top side, stick in your conduit. Oops, too big. We need a reducer. Stick the reducer on the conduit, put the wire through the box, put the reducer on the other side of the box. Now put your nut on and tighten it up to the conduit. The outgoing power will be Romex cable. We had to use the reducers as well for that connector. Go ahead and strip your cables. Tie white on white and black together with your wire nuts, and then make a little loop with your ground that we can go ahead and screw into the junction box when we install it. And don't forget to tighten down your nuts. Screw your box to the wall. Now that your connections are safe, put your junction box front plate on. Always use nail plates to protect your Romex cable. I went ahead and cut off a section of Romex to give myself a generous amount to the first light. Okay, for our next step, we're going to go ahead and hang these recessed lights. We decided to measure 8 inches off the end of the wall to the end of the circle for each of the 4 lights. These particular recessed lights screw into the side of the joist and flush out to the bottom. They also have a sliding track for adjustment. Now we'll cut our cable to length, strip it, and wire up our first light in the series. Next, I cut an 18-inch piece of Romex cable to act as a jumper from our first to second light. We're going to run our Romex cable from our two lights to this bay over here. Now, what I did is I got a wire hanger, and it's like a poor man's snake. And I just went ahead and put a little hook on the end and straightened it out. And we drilled 2 holes earlier for the Romex. So just go ahead and poke this through the hole. And it's just like fishing. The next thing you know, it'll pop out on the other side. We'll wire tape the Romex to it and pull it through. We're now going to hang our last light and finish up with the wire installation. Remember to measure twice and install once. 8 inches, perfect. Okay, all the lights are hung. Now for our next adjustment, these slide back and forth. So we're going to make some measurements and go ahead and give them equal distance off the wall. So I ran a Romex from the second light to the third light and then jumped the third to the fourth. Stripped the cables and put them back in the little junction box that's in the light. Now let's take a look at the switch. Go ahead and take the switch off, unscrew it, cut the cables, strip them. Now grab your dimmer switch, wire nut your connectors and ground the green to the box. Put it all together and give it a test. So we checked the dimmer, we put the floodlights in, and everything works fine. But it turns out that the homeowner is not happy with the actual placement of the lights. So my wife would like to move these lights over one more joist. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to move them over one more joist. So when you have unexpected work that comes up, I try to make it as easy as possible to make it happen. So in this case, what I'm going to do is remove the drywall first, and then individually move each light over, and then we'll rewire it and hook it up and then move on to our next step. All right, just go ahead and measure over 16 3/4 from the edge of the joist. That'll give you the center of the next joist, 16 3/4. With a straight edge, connect all of your marks. Screw your drywall with the sawzall and a blade, and then go ahead and rip it out. Then clean up all that leftover debris and pull down the insulation. Now make some reference marks from the existing lights and transfer those over to the next joist. Disconnect the wiring and move each light over one at a time. Our newly located lights are further apart, so I'm going to need a longer cable from 2 to 3 to wire them up. So the existing cable now becomes my new snake. Now I'll go ahead and connect light 4 to 3 and then give myself plenty of cable for the connection of light 3 to 2. And again, make sure all wire nuts are very, very tight. Don't forget your nail plate. Let's do it one more time. Let's take down that drywall, clean it up, make our reference marks for our lights. Disconnect as much wiring as we need to. Then move each light one at a time to its new home. Now run your power feed to light number 1 and hook it up. Then run your jumper from light number 1 to number 2, and then your cable from 2 to 3. Now turn on your breaker and give it a test. We double checked all connections and tightened it up. Now we can go ahead and put our plates on the junction box that came with the lights. Before you install your insulation, make sure it's rated for the can lights that you have. Now we're ready for our next step.